When I was little, the sea seemed like a very mysterious and secret place to me, no matter how inviting the sea may seem in the shallows. When it deepened, it was filled with horrors. With the effect of this mystery, I was afraid even of the small fish that touched my feet. Later, as I grew up, this fear was replaced by logic, and I realized that we shouldn't be so afraid of fish, because that wasn't the real scary part of the sea. There were creatures more disturbing than fish. Also caves and ruins. The sea, besides being of magnificent beauty, a scary place full of unknowns. There is a psychological phenomenon called thalassophobia. It is called the state of being afraid of the depth of the sea, its emptiness, and being away from the land. Actually, there are more reasons to be afraid of the sea. First of all, we know that we humans were not designed for the sea. The average person can hold their breath in water for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. When we spend some time in the water, our skin starts to wrinkle. But our fear of the sea is not physical incapacity. Realizing that fact, we don't belong there. The sea was not designed for us to survive. And when we go deep, the sea is not welcoming to us at all. Human is not wanted in the depths of the sea. These photos probably arouse some tension in you too. But this photo is the one that bothers me the most. This contrast between the ship and the huge ocean is more effective for me than a terrifying creature in the sea. It is very clear that this man-made vehicle does not belong to the bottom of the sea. That's why this stark dissonance bothers us. Another concept that this photograph reminds me of is emptiness. The sea is an empty place. Absurdly empty. And that emptiness is pretty scary for people. And there is a place where we can intensely experience the huge void of sea. Point Nemo. This place is the furthest point from land on the ocean. A person here has to travel 2,700 kilometers to reach the nearest piece of land. This place got its name from Captain Nemo in Jules Verne's book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Also, the word Nemo means nobody in Latin. This is an appropriate term for this point. This is the most desolate spot in the world. I have a question on my mind. What was our view of the sea when we did not have the technology to explore the sea? Would the sea still be frightening to us? When we did not experience the great void and strange creatures in the depths? When the sea waves, everyone knew that bad things would happen to us. Mythology also introduced us to sea creatures. Giant snake Leviathan, or the octopus kraken that sank ships. What I mean here is that our fear of the sea didn't start with the advancement of technology and reaching the deep. We were always afraid of the sea. It was the messenger of tragic events and the home of terrible creatures. Today, maybe we don't associate the fluctuation of the sea with bad events, or we do not believe in the existence of mythological creatures. But the sea is still scary for us, even traumatic. That terrible accident in 1912 that killed 1,500 people. An iceberg completely sank this ship, which they say will never sink, in 2 hours and 40 minutes. And the shipwreck was found 73 years later, when the researchers found the shipwreck. As if the sea was making fun of us. The bodies were destroyed, but some of the passengers' belongings had not even been touched. Many passenger and personnel belongings such as violins, shoes and watches were found in the wreckage, and some of them were in their original state. The ship itself was unrecognizable. The sea had neither completely destroyed this ship like corpses, nor protected it like objects. The sea owned this ship. It had made it a part of himself. Just as a human being bitten by a zombie mutates, the ship also underwent a transformation. But the ship was not only rotting, it was also melting. Research has shown that this ship is getting smaller and smaller. It turned out that a bacterial species in the sea was feeding on the iron and rust on the ship. Experts say that if it goes on like this, nothing will be left of the Titanic in 15 to 20 years. There is another incident that I liken to this incident. In 2018, a fish species was discovered that lives at a depth of about 8 kilometers below the sea surface. The fact that a living species could live so deep under the sea attracted the attention of researchers, and they decided to bring this fish to the surface to study it. But when this fish species came to the surface, it began to melt. Just like the Titanic. These two events are very similar, because both are not where they belong. This huge ship needs to be found on the surface. The sea is quite cruel to those who deny its nature. It doesn't like foreigners very much, and it makes its own creatures dependent on it. We are curious creatures. We do not want to leave a place where we do not step, even exceeding our biological potential. We discovered places beyond our imagination in the sea where we could only hold our breath for a few minutes. Our efforts to establish superiority over the sea were sometimes successful. Sometimes it fails. Because the sea, like everything in nature, never disturbs the balance between beauty and wildness.